I'm selling the RX7. I know, a few months ago I made a video where I said this. I'm gonna fix some of the stuff about this car that annoys me, and at the same time I'm gonna make RX7 content for the channel. So, RX7 content is back! But then I made my own problems that I then had to fix.
And then I started working non-stop on the Evo to make it even faster for time attack.
And now, it's been a couple of months, I haven't made a single video on the RX7, and I think it's just time to let it go.
But what is it that makes someone want to sell a car? Obviously, if money and space were no object, I'd never sell this thing. With gas prices this year, you'd think a car that gets 15 miles per gallon would be about as desirable as some kind of flesh-eating parasite, or a Subaru. But the FD market just keeps going up. These things are a legitimate investment. And I really enjoy this car when I drive it. It makes me feel really, really cool.
But it's the when I drive it that's the real kicker. I'll let this car sit in the storage unit for a month, and never once do I think, I'd like to be driving the RX7 right now. Because when I have the MR2 that I can turn endless laps in, or the Evo to tinker with and blast to and from the grocery store in, I don't really need to be getting my kicks from the brittle 30-year-old investment.
The FD was always my dream car, and I'm glad I got to own one because it has helped me realize that while it's an incredible, timeless machine that sparks interest and enthusiasm anywhere you take it, my real dream car has been the one I've been living with for the past 8 years.
I'm never, ever selling the Evo, partially because it's a rebuilt title and I've spent so much money on this thing at this point that I would never, ever get it back. At this point, you can bury me in this thing like a Mitsubishi coffin.
But it's also the car that I've owned the longest, since before Gears and Gasoline was even a thing. Owning the RX7, a car I always thought of as the perfect car, helped me realize that the Evo is actually the perfect car, in my opinion. And part of why it's perfect is because I know it like the back of my hand.
And that's the biggest reason why I don't really feel like I need to keep the RX7. It doesn't even really feel like it's mine. My buddy Dylan that I bought the car from did a ton of the car over his years of ownership to really make it his. And I've done a bunch to the car myself, a lot of mods, built a ton of memories with this thing over the last 2 years. Really, it's never gonna mean to me what the Evo does.
Lana has grown and developed with me over the years, just as the RX7 did with my buddy Dylan over the years that he owned it. Part of the reason I buy a car is because I like that particular car, but also largely because they make good content. The RX7 made some great content, but also it's a pretty complete car already, and it can be tough to make videos out of a complete car if you're not racing it or spending a lot of money to make it incomplete again, like stripping it down for a paint job or pulling the motor for an engine build. And since this car already runs fine and turns heads, I'd rather spend that money elsewhere.
Dylan, my buddy who I bought the car from, is interested in buying it back. So it's not like it's gonna be gone. I can still visit the car if I want, and Who knows? Maybe down the road I can take another crack at this whole rotary thing.
This was the car that proved to me that rotaries can be pretty reliable. More reliable than a Subaru at least. But it also made me desperately afraid of the day when that reliability would end, because I became very familiar with just how costly these things are to rebuild. I know I could have done so much more with this car on the channel, and I apologize for that. You guys could have gotten an engine build, beautiful paint, racetrack videos, more toge runs. That's the kind of stuff I'll regret not having done with this car. But when I consider selling a car, I always ask myself if I'm gonna miss it when it's gone. Like, really, really regret selling it. And I don't think I'll really miss the FD. So I think it's the right move. Check back and see if I still feel the same way in a month. There's one more reason I'm selling the RX7, and that's because it's become redundant for me. When I bought it, it meant I had to sell my 350Z, both to afford the new car and because I didn't need two cars that basically served the same purpose. When I bought the MR2, it was the rear-wheel drive track beater, while the RX7 was the tedious street car. Two totally different cars.
But now I've bought another project car that fills basically the exact same role as the RX7, minus the tedium of being 30 years old and rotary. And just like the RX7, this car is going to take a lot of time and money, and it's not even a Subaru. And again, just like the RX7, I bought this car from a friend of mine. But the difference is, I'm gonna make this car 100% my own. So let's get started.